Good morning, brothers and sisters. My speech today has been titled with keywords, the 21st century education, with reference to the ontology and the epistemology connected to education and human development. I feel this is very important. When the secretaries are asked me to fix the title, I told him this. And he asked me, "Sir, this is so strategic and superficial in nature. Will it cover the educational dimensions and with reference to the 21st century educational requirements, how to prepare the teachers and what will be the education in the kind of education that the humankind require in the 21st century?" So this is what he asked me. I said that, yes, that is the result of my speech. It should be ending with that. But we need to touch why and what is the construct upon which education is now functioning all around the world, and in what way society, the market forces, the communities, and industries and business are all connected with education. And what is the purpose of education in the 21st century? And in what way education is connected to epistemology? And what is the ontology of the epistemology, the human existence? Unless we know about all these things, the 21st teacher cannot teach. And the demands are so huge. And the changing dimensions of the society are rapid and radical altogether, topside down change. But we are following the education model that we invented 300 years ago. The 18th century education still remains. But the humankind has changed. You look at the classical physics, the Newtonian time, the 18th century, has become now obsolete. The modern physics talking about quantum physics, and quantum computing, and the human function is almost algorithmically tuned. The human endeavors, whether you buy online, Amazon, or whether you go to a mall, whatever the commodities that we consume now these days, and whatever the activities we are involved, even in voting through the electronic voting system, digitization, everything is based on algorithm. So algorithmically, the human function is highly tweaked, highly modified. We are now becoming passive. We are not active. We cannot take decisions on our own. And our consciousness is not ours. Our consciousness is influenced. Our consciousness is influenced by different entities. And sometimes the Nobel laureates are going ahead and talk about the electrons, the subatomic particles. In what way the subatomic particles, the quantum mechanics is influencing the thought process. They are, though it is unproven. Penn Roger, the Nobel awardee, David Hameroff, the leading neuroscientist. They are all telling now the consciousness is also influenced by the quanta. I mean, the subatomic particles. So these are all the various interventions and challenges that the world is going through. So in these days, what are all the skills, the competence, the knowledge that the 21st century humankind is required? And this is where we are struck, we are confused. Unless we know about it, we will not know what to teach. What would be the subject matters of learning and teaching? And what would be the content of the syllabus? And accordingly, the students that we produce are not going to deliver and dispose both in the society and at work, or even at home as a family. Both in family and society, and also at national level. Every individual is supposed to cater knowledge, dispose their decisions, their judgments. So that means that the 21st century is focusing more on the epistemic skills. Epistemology is the theory of knowledge in a raw term if you talk about. Epistemic skill, episteme is knowledge. And epistemic skill is how do you perceive knowledge, apply knowledge. That is epistemic skill. And these skills are going to lead, these are going to be the demanding, highly demanded by the 21st century human function, manufacturing, industries, business, society, social function, everything. So that means whether the universities and higher education institutions are preparing the kids, the children, in this direction or not. Do we have the curriculum? Do we have the curricular dynamism? Whether we have the curriculum cultivating the human requirements, challenges and problems, and whether our curriculum are dynamically addressing the changing dimensions of the world and the society and individuals. And whether we have, pedagogical interventions in teaching learning methods, so that out of all walks of life, one teaching, one classroom teaches everybody, wherein everyone learns thoroughly, without failure. Do we have that? Or do we have an examination framework which is going to assess the required learning outcome of the students, the learners? Do we have that? Still, our examination system is rote, backward. It is testing the memory predominantly. Even if it intends to testify the knowledge and skills, we do not know how to do that. So these are all the major challenges that we are facing nowadays. This is a problem to Oxford University. This is a problem to Harvard University. This is a problem to any higher education institution all around the world. There is no exception. Please don't think that Harvard is doing better than you. Harvard is also facing the same problem, because Noam Chomsky said long back, education has now become a matter of complaints to nonsense. That nonsense is nothing but accreditation, ranking, and so on. So that means just complaints to standards, the national standards, the regional standards. And these standards, those who are sitting there are police officers, policing the institutions. Policing the institutions is not the solution. Sitting there in Delhi, sitting at Chennai, using some information communication systems, computers, EMEs, this, that, and all those, academic bank of credit, and all those online monitoring, policing, not monitoring, online policing systems will not work. After all, we are talking about social function. Education is a social function. Education is a social function. How many of us treat education as a social function? Family is a social institution. Society is a social entity. Nation is a reflection of society. And it must be a collective consciousness of the society. Only then you call it as a nation. Nation is not confined to only the constitution of the country. Constitution of any nation is a political document. And it cannot become a nation. A nationhood to ensure a society's total consciousness, collective consciousness, should be represented by the nationhood and nationalism. If any one segment of the society is, excluded, then that is not nation. So wherein education has to play a major role, what it is. Education is the social function. I say that because we have universities only 300 years. And the primitive universities like Nalanda in India, and Dakshashila, and our Kanchipuram University, Kanchi, or for that matter Oxford University 800, 900 years old, and Cambridge University about 500, 600 years old. And these universities, are primitive universities. Primitive. The modern time universities and colleges were started only 300 years ago, 18th century. And these 18th century universities, colleges, were modeled with the notion that the society has always ups and downs all around the world. The haves and the elitists are able to learn, whereas those at the bottommost are majority who have no access to education, which is naturally happening in the society. So, then at that time people thought, why not we have a common education system, name it as a public education? And why not the governments? Because then most of the modern political governments started only 300 years old. Before then there was no politically constitutionalized nation in the world. All were ruled by monarchs, dictators. And democratically elected governments started only 300 years ago. Then the governments thought that majority downtrodden, majority disadvantaged communities are not able to read, write. And then they started, why not the government start education, impart education, facilitate education. That's how it started. So that means before then, were there education or not? Was there? It was. Otherwise, during Sangha time, 2,500 years ago, 2,800 plus Sangam, old Sangam period, the poems 2,800 plus. And there were 400 plus laureates, poets. And there were about 50 plus women poets. Avvayar, Adimandiyar, those, Nakkannayar, all guys. Without education, they wouldn't have done, isn't it? Were there education? Were there universities at the time? No schools. Society itself was a school. When? 2,500 years ago. That is why I often used to say that education means it must be society driven. Naturally, it is society driven. You and me are here under this roof and doing the education in current times, practically. And there is a government, trying to ensure that all walks of life, all students, all social backgrounds get education. That's why the government. Now what is happening. Where all of us are getting quality education, affordable education, public education or not. We do not. This is one side. So that means my point is that education is society driven. And education prior to 300 years ago, there were no universities of the kind we have now. There were no schools, proper schools. Even though we had some kind of a schooling system in India and Europe and all China and all. So that means there are a number of ways that the humankind had come out with its own mechanism to educate ourselves. So that means there were no schools and colleges and universities. So now we have. And what is the purpose? Because if education is left to the society alone, per se, those who have occupy the highest positions in the society, the elite communities, and the commercial communities, and the haves, they will enjoy education and majority will be deprived of education. That is the reason that we started modern time education like this, educational establishments like this. I tell you one background. Why, in what way education needs totally a different model than what we do now. Let me go back. Please note down the points, very important. See, in 2020, after March, there was a lockdown. March 21st was the first lockdown, they declared. And afterwards, everyone were compelled to confine themselves at their homes. Were you able to get vegetables? Were you able to get your commodities, the basic vital commodities that you require on a day-to-day basis? Were you able to get napkins? Women? Nothing. I'm talking about in United States of America, not India. Nothing. But at the coast, at the Long Beach, in California, Long Beach, $25 billion worth of commodities are lying on the coast, waiting to be distributed. You have science. You have technology. You are reaching Mars, Moon, and you have the capacity to do everything, whatever you like. But why you were not able to even distribute the napkins, water to all needed people? I'm asking United States of America, the top superior country in the world. Forget India. And on the coast of Chennai and Mumbai, billions of worth dollars of commodities are lying with the medicines. The medicines were not able to be circulated. What is that injection? Rendezvous, isn't it? Because of lack of that injection, many people were dying. Rendezvous or something like that. Yes. People were dying. Doesn't mean that we did not have that medicine. Lying on the coast of Chennai, not able to be distributed. That was the first time in the world the governments, the people, and all the so-called richest men on the world and the highest, elitist communities in the society, they felt they were just like nothing like a mosquito. They felt they were not even equal to mosquito that lives short while. That was the time when humankind felt that we are wrong and we are not educated and our science and technologies are not enough and we are not satisfying ourselves. That was the first time. Corona gave a lesson to everybody, 8 billion people on earth. Good lesson. What was that lesson? How, in what way it is related to education? That is what I'm trying to convey. You have to look at what was the reason. It is not simply lack of our ability in the supply chain and logistics. It is not just related to supply chain and logistics. It is human production I'm talking about. Human production. Manida Urpatti. If I take a paper and pen and write, it is human production. It is my production. If I write if I sing, if I produce this, manufacture, everything is manifestation of human production. And when I say human production, please don't think that manufacturing this. Commodities, more than that. That means human production has been, without we knowing or unknowingly, and we didn't know, we didn't realize, has been changing for the last couple of centuries. We didn't know that. We did not equip ourselves through educational system to match with the requirements of the changing dimensions of human production. Say for instance, take at least 50 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was a child. The commodities that I ate were produced from my farm, within my town, within my village. Most rice, tomato, vegetables, fruits, most. During my childhood, apple I could not see. Apple nowadays lying on the road. And that human production those days were produced with respect to specifically to the demands of that particular society. That was the point. And it was reachable. Production was reachable. Production was alterable, modifiable those days. If it doesn't suit me, I can modify. If that rice I don't like, I can go for my own other rice. Ponni rice, this rice, that rice. Those days I heard about it. Nowadays, if I like a rice, I will not get it. The rice you get are mostly 90% genetically modified, GMO, GM. And your gene is also getting modified. Now you look like 2 eyes, 1 head, hand. Maybe another 100 years, we all are going to be like a reptile. Not like a reptile, maybe crawling on the road like a puru, worm. We will change, honestly, another 100, 200 years. Because the commodities and the production that we are doing now are not meeting our requirements. Your producers, 99% producers, you eat now. You eat, drink now. And you use this. Everything is not ours. Somebody, an exploiter, oppressor, somebody in some part of the world is making this. You are oppressor. It is not yours. The algorithm here, not yours. What do you know about in this algorithm written here? The computer. This is a small computer. It is algorithmically designed. Forget this cap, the cover. But what is inside is taking your data. You look at this. Right. It opens now. Right? What does it mean? Bioengineering. This means bioengineering. Looking at my eye, it opens. I don't have to open this. It is not just only, oh, I enjoy opening this. Without clicking this, by seeing my face, my eyes, it can recognize me. And by using my fingerprint, it recognizes me. Algorithm. Have you seen algorithm? You cannot. Invisible. It is not like this product. Isn't it? So what does it mean then? Bioengineering. Bioengineering means it is not simply making you, just once you open it and see or look at the eyes, it opens itself, doesn't mean it is making you, helping you to open this device. But it is making you, taking your data and you are bioengineering your eyes. Whoever uses smartphone, everybody in the world, most of your biodata are there with Google. With Apple, with IBM. These are the few people they have quantum computer in the world. You know what they use the quantum computer? Why? Why they use the data? They are helping you. Come on, Gmail is free, no need to pay. Okay, who cares? You think that somebody is helping you. But through Gmail, making it free, he is taking your data. He is predicting the world. 4 companies are predicting the world now. Only 4 people have supercomputer in the world now. And many more rascals will also come out with supercomputers, hijack the whole world. Rascals. Google has a supercomputer. And then quantum computer, not super. Supercomputer is 30, 40 years old. Quantum computer. Quantum, using quanta, using its superimposition. There are a lot of things you go and read afterwards. I just mentioned the keywords, but you refer the web, and later on you learn about what is superimpositions, and what is the entanglement. Using the entanglement and superimposition theories, 0 and 1, these are the 2 numbers driving you and me, 0 and 1. And these are algorithm. Without 0 and 1, there is no algorithm. And this algorithm is making your bioengineering. Get all the data. Your blood pressure can be obtained here, sitting at the Google laptop, there. And Google, IBM, Alibaba, and all these few guys why they have come out, more advanced than the governments like US, India, China. Why they have come out with this is through bioengineering, through all your biological data, and through your commercial interest, through your social interest, they are trying to collect the data, and that through that data, they are going to feed into the quantum computer that will, in a fraction of a second, trillions of data it will be able to generate. It will be able to assess you, and it will be able to predict the future. Accordingly, they will devise their business standards, business motives, and markets are aligned. And with Google and IBM and Alibaba, everybody is linked. All governments are under them. The superior governments are Google now, and Apple. Google, Apple, IBM, Alibaba. These are the super governments in the future. No one cares about who sits as prime minister and president in any occupying any constitutional post. They are more powerful than anybody on earth now, these companies. And these companies are driving us. They tell us what to eat. They influence us what to buy. They influence us what to decide. They influence our consciousness. And you cannot resist against them. You will know one day, howsoever you are conscious in buying a shirt, you will be influenced by them what to buy. And that is the world now. So for them, who produces? So they are, through quantum physics, they are influencing you every part. Husband and wife relationship decided by Google. Honestly, I can establish it. And son and father relationship. In every relationship, they penetrated deep into core, and they are trying to, influence us in many ways. Why? Because there is a business there. The business is the production, human production. The human productions are influenced now. And the human production, say for instance, the rice I take, the apple I take, the orange I take, or this one I have, everything is produced in some other parts of the world which are not meeting my requirements. We don't know who produces what. We don't know who is going to be our customers for the producers we make. That means the producers we make, somebody made this. I don't know where they made it. Whose sweat and wet and hardship, hard work were behind this? Do you know that? How many people were exploited in making this product for the benefit of one company? Do you know that? All poor people all around the world, their sweat and their hardship were exploited or being exploited in making this. Okay, forget, this is a human rights. Forget it, because we don't like human rights matters. But the matter is that who produces this, whether it matches our requirement or not. This is the problem now. Somebody produces somewhere somebody uses some part of the world and they are not meeting with each other, and because of that the whole human race is getting chaos and going through a turbulent conditions and challenges and problems, and the whole planet Earth is getting now facing a challenge and problems. So in this dynamic, turbulent, challenging world, we have to live. Your children, your grandchildren should also live. And it is not long ago, long from now. It just started a couple of decades ago, this revolution. But this revolution is going to go through leaps and bounds, and going to result in a very much still again a chaotic conditions. There will be no jobs. Honestly, I tell you, there will be no jobs. And for what we are producing then? For the livelihood. What your degree will matter? Commerce, BCom. Why? Why do we need a BCom now? Why do we need BA, BSc, BE, MBBS? Why? When these are these degree certificates are not going to be useful, honestly. So that means for what purpose do we need universities? You note down my point. In the next 10 years, the universities you have now, the colleges you have now, may not have a reason to exist. What you teach is there outside. Your student, if interested, he will learn. Then why do you teach them? Why does he need? Say, for instance, that go to Google, again the same companies who are ruling the world. Your degrees are not wanted there. Honestly, I'm telling you. A person, a student, a child who completed 12th grade is earning 2 crore per year package. More than a computer scientist. Why does he need your degree? My son is studying in US now, and in 12th grade he learned Python himself, even though there was no topic, there was no subject. And he came out with an app, developed himself during 10th grade. Why does he need to study Python and in a college like this? There are millions of children have free access to education, access to information, access to knowledge. The knowledge is outside, spread, scattered everywhere. And you have to segregate what is wanted. On that one day you need education then. If I want to become an expert in the economy, the knowledge is there, outside. Everything is reaching me. Why should I come to Pachepas to study BCom and economics? Tell me. As I said, as I quoted Noam Chomsky, it is a complaint. Complaints to the masters living at Delhi, ruling from Delhi or from Chennai, listening only the complaint to the masters who do not know what education is about. Who doesn't know? Their motives are different. Google has one motive, governments have another motive. Why? Google wants to rule the world. The human production, influence the human production and human consumption. A great pattern of change is going ahead. Consumption, nukarbu, production. These are the motives of Google. The motives of governments are making you slaves. Say, it will be too hard to say that. Making you a listenable, humble, obedient citizen. Am I right? These are the governments. All over the world. All over the world. I'm not talking about Indian government. All governments have the same motives. So who is offering real education? Do you have the freedom to do that? If you have the freedom, you must know what to do that, how to do that. Do you know how to do that first as a professor? If you do not know, please don't call yourself as professors. Honestly. If you collectively cannot come together at Pachepas and envision yourself considering the challenges and come out with an educational model that is going to satisfy the human requirements of the 21st century in the next 70 years, please don't call yourself as professors, honestly. Don't. This is misleading because your own son and daughters are studying here. Here means either here or in this planet. If you fail to set your own model and standards without complying yourself only to the governments and government standards, that is not a higher education to me. It is a primary school then. Only primary schools are guided education. That is needed because we are talking about 3 years old kid. It must be properly guided. But higher education, it is a bigger pattern, very big, wider pattern, higher education. So in higher education, what are we going to do? If you behave like, okay, there is a, the kudirike katti vittirupanga, kadivala today. So the person sitting there driving the cart, it has to go this way or that way. Higher education cannot function like this. It should be contextual, local, global, societal, and in every sphere, it must be a vibrant, vigorous center in preparing the humankind. Only then you can call higher education institution as a college or university. Let us come back to the human production. I'm yet to come to the main part, education. You must know why the point that I'm going to make now today, after the second part of my speech, is that we need to find the context now. What is the context in which we conduct education? Without that, you will not know what education is about. And accordingly, the constructs. If you know the constructs that influence the context, then you will know what is to be done. That's probably the problem. In countries like India, at least when I was a professor in United States, I had some opportunity to explore. But being the vice chancellor in this country, as a professor, they limit the freedom, the chance, the opportunity I had as a professor in United States, the freedom I had to experiment my own, to improve my educational practices. I could not get it as a vice chancellor in this country. Then, let us go to the human production. So the human production is now getting changed. Let us now compare these days production to Karl Marx period production. During Karl Marx, his problem was one thing. It was the human production, people are involved in production, producing grains, commodities, this, that, and those physical production only Karl Marx said. And at that time, he was trying to come out with equity, E-Q-U-I-T-Y, equity for everyone involved in production. Some capitalistic force were enjoying the benefit of the production, the value of the production, and majority people who are producing this were losing their value in the production. That was the question for which Karl Marx was trying to answer. Initially, the young Karl Marx said, okay, what would be the basic reason? Is it simply by rule and law that we can ensure that the laborer is getting his value or not? Not, according to Karl Marx, not. So that is why Karl Marx came out with an idea, dialectical materialism. He wanted to see the whole knowledge through production only. Even though I only partially agree with Karl Marx, I have a different opinion with Karl Marx. But his idea was to look at everything through production, human production. But the idea, the basic root cause he came out with addressing the solution for the human production was what? That I agree with that. That is consciousness. See, that is the beauty of Karl Marx. Consciousness. If a laborer is consciously engaged in the material world and in the production process, he will get his value. Consciously engaging him. That is the consciousness. So he felt the consciousness of laborer was alienated from production. So physically he was engaged and he was exploited. The laborer was not getting the value of his work, contribution. So Karl Marx said that why not we? So he came up with the idea dialectical materialism. And he copied, or maybe his inspiration was Hegel. Hegel was coming out with, a dialectical knowledge process. And he borrowed that, but he stuck on to materialism, whereas Hegel was not sticking on to only materialism, but he was also focusing on idealism. Both. Of course, Karl Marx was also an idealist by him saying consciousness is the basic thing. And the alienation of consciousness of the labor from production was the root cause for the value he is not getting for his work. So, what I am trying to say that, can you now take Marxian time here, the production philosophy now, is it working on that? That's why I told you, somebody is producing, somebody is consuming, the consumer doesn't know the producer doesn't know the consumer. But Karl Marx's time was not like that. He knows he is the capitalist. He is the exploiter. I am working for him. But I don't know who prepared this. I'm consuming this. Even for that matter, the Apple company doesn't know who prepared this. This is Apple. The company also doesn't know contract manufacturing. Right? Contract manufacturing. Exploitation of labor. Prosumer. You heard about it 20 years ago? Prosumer. The traders involved, in between the producer and the consumer. And these traders are called prosumers. P-R-O-S-U-M-E-R-S. New terminology. Is the market, liberal market forces. These are the culprits who are exploiting the human production. And they are dominating the human production. That is these days. At that time, Karl Marx time, no prosumer. The consumer and producer, direct contact. So they were opposing, they were demanding some equity. They were able to get at least during Karl Marx. But now you do not know how to get your equity as a laborer, as a contributor, as a designer, as an engineer. You don't have any value these days. We need new Marxian theory now, philosophy. So that means the engineering, artificial intelligence, technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and quantum computing. These are the three major giants. Using all electronics and image processing and bioengineering technologies. And you are all now made passive. You are not active. Maybe in future you will not take your hand to eat yourself. It might come one day. Because you will not have food anyway after 50 years. The food that you eat now will be different. Sambar, rasam, mukh, mudakya, no. Nalla arisuvai unavu. You will not get it after 50 years. You are going to live without food, honestly. Maybe you will take a capsule or a pills and you will live with that. If you try to take the food, arisuvai unavu, your stomach will not accept it. They know how to make your stomach, make it. Influence it. Your consciousness will not allow. The disease patterns that I wrote in the NEET report, the disease pattern that we are getting now are dangerous and altogether different, not like 50 years ago. The solution through medical education and medical services we need in the whole total humankind in the whole world is not the present day medical solutions and medical practices. I wrote in the NEET report, very categorically, medical education needs a total topside change in its thought process. What it is? It should be health-based psychosocial model. Health-based psychosocial model should be the objective of medical education and medical services. It is not based on disease-based pattern now, because the disease pattern are changing altogether, and we have to modify our education also, medical education. Otherwise, these doctors will be useless. And one day, our blood are going to be dominated by what? By what? Robots. Nano robots. Nano robots means you cannot see it. Can you see electron? Can you see quark? Subatomic particles? Invisible. It's like that. They are going to inject that in our blood. And these nano robots are going to self-heal, self-address. You would not need any medicine. The medical, advancements are going in that direction. Why do you need a doctor then? Tell me. If nano robots are inserted inside, and it is going to where there is any inflammation, diabetes, cholesterol, all are inflammations caused by many of our bad practices. And these nano robots are going to go through that blood, and wherever inflammation immediately happens, it goes and fights and then resolves it. No antibiotics. Why do you need doctor then? Why do you need MBBS? Again, naakku vazhikkiradha. These MBBS are for naakku vazhikkiradha. Yenendral, the problem here is we are not reinventing to the changing dimensions of the requirements, the human requirements. Medical education, engineering education, commerce, history, science, ella naakku vazhikkira courses. But we are all professors. Vice Chancellor like me, no? This is enough. This one and this one is enough for the Vice Chancellor in many countries. This one, I don't know. I don't want to comment. This is education. So that means, what are we trying to say is that what is the role of education in changing dimensions of human production, in changing dimensions of human pattern of consumption, in changing dimensions of supply chain and logistics. That's why I told you $25 billion worth of goods were lying on the Long Beach, California, waiting to be distributed. Supply chain logistics with all these ICT, digital, all those technologies, we were not able to do it. Right? So supply chain, logistics, consumptions, production, all have changed already. They don't care about you and me sitting in the university teaching. They already are there with their own mechanism influencing the world. The human evolution is something different, getting all together a different shape. But one thing, dear brothers and sisters, this is one aspect. The other aspect is, America, there is a racial problem. The black people are still waiting for their due share in education. And they are isolated. And they are isolated in jobs and employments and economic opportunities. And education didn't do much to liberate black people. But they emerged as the economic giants only because of their mouth, voice. What is that? Singing. The multi-billion dollar is based on the black people in United States. They were on their own. Education did not help them. And the opposite here in India, still the caste system is preventing people, all walks of people, to get due share in education, quality education, not by access. If the government of Tamil Nadu says 52% we have achieved equal to New York enrollment, I don't agree with that. It is not. The 52% higher education that New York enjoys, the gross enrollment ratio, the United States, enjoys is not equal to the same 52% GER we have in Tamil Nadu. Because majority of the 52% studying in the universities and colleges in Tamil Nadu, majority of them naakku vazhikkuda. Because they will not be useful for their livelihood, for their social, professional, societal dispositions, family dispositions. They are not getting the knowledge and skills as they are supposed to have required. So that means, what I'm saying is that this is another dimension. One dimension is the human production, consumption, supply chain, logistics, completely different. Another dimension is all social walks of life. The government of India is now saying, you go and practice Pramana Satra and Darshana Satra. What do we mean by Darshana Satra? Darshana Satra means there is a creator. You call it like anybody, Brahman, who, this, that, anybody. We are not having any dispute with that. But there is a creator. And you see creator, realize creator, and seek moksha. Because the creator is the knowledge. And the creator, realizing creator is the jnana. All Vedanta you go and refer. All you will find that. Most of the Vedanta, Upanishad are talking the same. There are some slight differences between them. In the ontologically they have differences. But, the context is same. So that means they are trying to, the Darshana Satra means darshan, to see. To see what? Jnana. Jnana is what? The creator. And realize the creator. You are illusion and you are not real. The creator is the real. And realize the creator is the jnana. And that jnana is through Darshana Satra. Is that what you want now in schools and colleges? To practice? Yes. That is what our government says. And the government already trained 1,000 plus teachers all across India. And the UGC is spearheading that training process. They will come to you. They are planning to train 15 lakhs teachers, 1.5 million teachers. They want to train in the next 2 years so that you all are going to implement Darshana Satra, Pramana Satra as a pedagogy, teaching learning methods in universities and schools. Okay, I leave it to your conscience. I'm not commenting on it. Whether you like it, you do it. But what I want is that I have here changing patterns of human production altogether and changing patterns of human consumption, supply chain logistics, and here the changing dimensions of more and more oppressions, exploitations, discriminations in the society, which on both sides education didn't do anything now in India. It didn't do anything. Okay, now hereafter, this point, I'm going to talk about academics and education. So I have now explained what is the construct, the context in which we are working. We are facing whatever the challenges and problems that we face. I hope that I justified it in the last 30-40 minutes. In the next 30 minutes, I'm trying to say what you and me are going to do in this changing situation. So we have education, school, college, universities, and we have to prepare our kids for these changing dimensions that I discussed now. And we need to have the academic functions properly, appropriately, righteously, squarely to address this changing dimension of human production, consumption, and things. Only then your BCom, your BE, your MBBS, through that, the students will be able to go and serve the society and make their livelihoods as well, and take decisions at family, in society, and in the nation. So that means this is the challenge. What those academic functions are more important for us? The major academic function The pivotal point is curriculum. The curriculum, I think most of the senior professors are here, they understand what it is. The juniors, you may not have some kind of exposure to it. The curriculum is a framework that will, at strategic level, stipulate or guide or foster the knowledge and skills required by the learner. And accordingly, it will spell out how are we going to equip, teach, and what interventions pedagogically through teaching learning method we are going to interfere into that educational matters, and by what form of examination system, academic achievement assessment system and framework are we going to testify whether the students achieved that required knowledge or skills, and the whole delivery process, the curriculum delivery, how to, the entities involved, the teacher, the student, the university, the vice chancellor, the academic council, and all other entities involved in making this education to function. What is the framework? What are the roles? And within that framework, how are we going to deliver this curriculum? And this is what curriculum framework means. And this curriculum framework now are mostly dictated by the market forces. Say, for instance, I don't know much about what to say for arts and sciences, but more or less the same, but I can quote the best example, engineers. There are about 5,000 engineering colleges in India, roughly. And all these colleges are working for only 4 or 5 companies. Millions of engineers are being produced every year, and they have no jobs. The Government of India report says only 5% of the engineering graduates are employable. They have the skill and attitude. 95% of our engineering graduates are lying on the road. Some are criminals. Some are working as securities. Some are working, I'm not meaning they are low-lying jobs, but an engineer should work as an engineer. That's why he spent 30 lakhs rupees in private colleges to get the degree. It's not easy. Parents are dying, suiciding themselves, and disposing their wealth altogether totally to prepare their kids. But at the end of the day, they are not able to make 20,000 rupees. An auto rickshaw wala will do that. That is the engineering education here. That means these engineering educators, the colleges and the universities, are working for few companies. Infosys, Wipro, and few automobile companies, few electrical companies, and a couple of only 1 or 2 L&T kind of civil engineering companies. For that, millions of engineering students are produced. So in the curriculum, who produces, who sets the knowledge and skill to be attained by the learner? These companies. It is not you, it is not your government, and it is not the student, it is not the society. It is these guys, the governments, along with the neoliberal market forces, the industries, few, and they are have invaded into the education sector, and the curricula are fixed for them. They call it like employability, employment, placement. These are the key words being used in higher education. And that placement, unless you offer the skills required by these few companies, your engineer will not be. So that means for few opportunities, we are preparing millions of students for 4 companies, and engineers are not employable. And why engineers, like doctors, not able to make their own business? Doctors are, if they don't have government jobs, what they do? And they are going to have their own clinic. How about engineers? Why they are working as securities? Why they are working, I know, not securities, lower than that, they are working in the farms, laborers, engineering graduates. Why? They are not holistically prepared. Holistically. It is not engineering means it is not just simply to prepare the students for certain skills required by some industries. In the 21st century, in the new dimensions of human production, even your economists or your political science students, they are going to work in the society. They are going to work in some business firms. Or they may have their own, livelihood. They will create their own livelihoods. Are we preparing for them? Preparing them for those challenges? No. That means curriculum should be dynamic enough to consume and cultivate the societal requirements first, and the global challenges second. Global challenges, conditions, and requirements. So we have to prepare the graduates holistically for global challenges with a local context. So you have to prepare the engineers, doctors, economists, political science students, everybody with a holistic skills and holistic perception of the knowledge. So you may have a core economy as a subject, but that is not enough if he studies economics. But it must be wide enough so that it exposes and prepare him or her for the challenges in the 21st century. That must be predominantly epistemic skills. Epistemic skill means let us first prepare the students for how to think. That is epistemic skill. Our students are just like what? Like robots. They are codified algorithms through universities and colleges. We are codifying them. We are preparing them, like using our own algorithm, educational algorithm. And they walk only in this direction. They don't know suddenly if they face any problems and any other challenges they face. They do not know. So that means curriculum should be wider enough. How are we doing it? This is autonomous college. Isn't it or not? Non-autonomous. Not autonomous. See? No. Is it autonomous college or not? This is affiliated to Madras University, I know. No autonomous. Then I think we have to go hell. See? You are following Madras University's curriculum. Madras University sits once in 5 years, 10 years to make your curriculum. How are you going to cultivate and consume the global challenges and societal problems and requirements? Why you did not do that so far? My question to you, please take it serious. 1842, 182 years old institution. Just yesterday, out of the rain, mushrooms, number 1. In Times of India, number 1 NIRF rank, 1 page, 1 university. 1 page, number 1, only 1. At the bottom, university name. So it cropped in yesterday's rain, mushroom. 182 years old institution is non-autonomous. I really take pity on you and I regret. Please, this is unacceptable. As a societal member, outsider, I strongly make my reservation. This is unacceptable to Tamil Nadu. If Pachepas is not autonomous, then it is a whole curse to the Tamil Nadu people. I curse the Tamil Nadu people for failing, all of us, including me. We should have done it. We should have supported you. I didn't know that. I should have voiced it outside, from my side. Now you understand why Pachepa cannot make a good curriculum for the 21st century. You cannot. If you rely on Madras University, now for that matter, any university, I'm not criticizing Madras University. Most of the universities are same. So curriculum, you should first get autonomy, and you should be liberated from the clutches of the age-old affiliation and become your university on your own in the long run. But at least now immediate need is autonomy. Curriculum you should develop. and it must be linked to the societal requirements. And you have to prepare the framework accordingly so that it is going to, address the changing dimensions of the society and the changing demography of the society and the changing widening, ever-increasing wide between the haves and have-nots, between the rich and poor, and between the highest and the lowest in the societal strata. And these are all the major problems, sir. If any one of you are enjoying highest quality education, and any one of you are enjoying highest economic or commercial benefit in this country, I tell you, you will lose as well, irrespective of your money and social status. Because when tsunami came, it did not affect specifically, okay, you kill JAWAHAR NESAN and you save Secretary, sir. It doesn't say like that. If tsunami means, tsunami will kill everybody. The haves, have-nots, and rich, poor, higher, and lower. So that means I really caution you that the world outside is largely different from what we are doing in the classroom. So curriculum, I told you, one thing. You make curriculum dynamic, connect it with the social, demographic, production, consumption patterns happening there, and highly precise, high precision approach. You connect it and hook it with the outside world so that you will prepare the students ready for the changing dimensions with all relevant skills and knowledge. And the knowledge required is epistemic skills. First, the skill. And you know that once you inculcate it through your pedagogical system, the epistemic skills, they know in their subject domain how to update their knowledge in future and how to exercise their knowledge and dispose their knowledge in society and profession. So that means epistemic skill. How to get that epistemic skill? The critical thinking people are talking about. The national education policy is talking about critical thinking at many places. But the national education policy is against achieving critical thinking. That I have explained everywhere. I tell you how. For you to get critical thinking, inculcate. Because why critical thinking is that when I look at this object, I critically look at it. Is it really true or fake? Because we are very good at copying, Copying. Aqua. Is it really aqua product or not? First question. Good or bad? Inside poison or not? Is it going to damage my intestine or not? Throat or not? Critically. And then I make some decision. That is epistemic skill. And if you do not know how to think on this critically, then you are almost like inert material like this wood, like this, or earth mud. So we are producing the earth mud kind of humankind. We have 80 billion neurons inside. We have left and right, cognitive part and creative part, and both are rustic. Inside there is a rust. Our students, you open up the brain inside, you will find rust. Why? Because the creative part is right side, and the cognitive part is left side, and the left side should align with this, and the creative part should dodge the left side, the cognitive side, so that he will know the truth. Understand? Our education is not preparing the students to make use of the creative part on the cognitive part. Cognition, I look at this building, very good, beautiful. That is cognition. And if I live in this and inquire more, investigate more on this building, and I get sneezing in this building, oh, the indoor air quality is poor. That is the creative part, right? So accordingly, even though it is good, then I will feel, hey, this is good, artificial good, but inside bad, causing harm, harming my health, because indoor air quality is not good. That means it is not good. That is the left and right. Use the left brain and right brain, and right brain is more. You look at Einstein. Many people who challenge the left brain become scientists and Nobel laureates. If anyone doesn't use the right brain to challenge the left is always complaining, like a university, our UGC standard, complaints. It says, oh, see, I used to eat idli dosa every day. Come on, nonsense. Today onwards, this doctor told me to eat oats because I have diabetes. Nonsense. Then I used to eat left. That is the left brain. I am practiced on this. I know that the whole India is in a disarray. The social system is rotten. It's a hierarchically based caste system and so on. All wrong things. Yes, okay. But still we have to live in it. That is the left brain. The right brain will ask, hey, come on, this is nonsense. The right brain will say, no. Why not? Why this caste system? Or why this discrepancy in education? Why the education is not affordable? These questions are asked by the right brain. And the right brain will dodge the left brain and come out with more insightful data and information. And finally, left and right are aligned and suitably thinking happening, and the right solution or decisions are made by human thinkers, human beings. So that means, how are we going to engage this epistemic, practical, learning process through the curriculum on the subjects we teach, like economy, engineering, psychology, and so on. So you teach economy. I'm not asking you to teach philosophy. Epistemology is a philosophy, isn't it? I'm not asking you to teach. But when you teach economy, and you teach the economy through a pedagogical approach, that is epistemic method. What epistemic method you use in teaching through the pedagogical approach? What pedagogy you use? How many of us know pedagogy in the first place? I have seen most of the professors, they don't know what pedagogy is about. Teaching learning method, yes sir, flip-flop, and this learning, collaborative, cooperative. So why do you use it? In what context do you use collaborative learning, cooperative learning? Is collaborative learning, cooperative learning is so less or easy? And if so, how are you going to use it? I tell you, dear brothers and sisters, collaborative, cooperative learnings are the most advanced higher order learning process, not easy to apply. And these learning processes will help you to inculcate critical thinking, critical skills in the students. When you teach economy, say you are talking economic, BA economics, you are talking about poverty, and you are talking about econometrics analysis, analytical, this, that. Economics professors, please excuse with me, I'm not economist, but I'm just quoting. And when you are talking about economy and poverty in the economic course, how will you make the students to think critically and achieve critical thinking skill through the economic course? You will not talk about the price, the parity indices and the consumptions and the models there, consumption patterns, and then how the things are, the economic parameters are associated with it in dealing with the poverty. More than that, you have to inspire the students, give him or her the outline and the scope and opportunities to look at critically what would be the root cause for that. In Germany, it is different. In India, it is different. In Germany, it was purely an economic process, class process. In India, it is a caste process, partially, not fully. So that means in India, if you talk about poverty, without addressing both class and caste, you will not know what is the root cause for poverty. That is the critical thinking. So you have to expose them, the students, to that process, and to all relevant subject domains and all relevant, practical real world situations. And you will not make them to understand what the poverty is about. So critical thinking is consuming the knowledge about the object or subject and synthesize in the brain and reflect with our own knowledge. That is critical thinking. And for that, epistemic skill is very important. How to think is the epistemic skill. And how to reflect, how to perceive, how to process and reflect with our own knowledge is what critical thinking is about. Unless you practice this in the classrooms, be it education, engineering, medicine, economics, psychology, sociology, everywhere. Unless you practice it, you cannot prepare the students for the 21st century to face those challenges. So critical thinking is very, very important. And critical thinking, how will you do that? Critical pedagogy. So critical pedagogy is the important pedagogical interventions that you may have to do it in the classroom. How will you do that? Say, for instance, example, critical pedagogy, critical thinking is the focus, assuming. And critical pedagogy is the method, what it is. How will you ensure in the teaching learning process? So you have 60 students in the class. And 60 students, you are teaching one topic that particular day. And that topic fit for critical thinking and critically reviewing. It is not basic course. It is not basic theory. But it is an advanced theory or something that has a scope wherein students can think and reflect if you feel that course is there. And where you can do that, you can make groups and ask them to, discuss and reflect using collaborative, cooperative learning and then reflect it. But the issue that you will face here is how are you going to engage them properly so that everyone participates and everyone shares, so that everyone will have an opportunity to reflect with their own knowledge. If you give a problem, you will also tell me, yes, I am doing group problem solving. You will do that. Out of 5 guys there in the group, they are going to discuss. 1 will work, the 4 will sleep, and finally they will submit as a assignment. And that is not. So that means everyone should be tested. You must have then internal assessment system. In that way, it is linking there. Unless you have an internal assessment system properly so that you can testify everybody in the group, so that everyone will be sharing, everyone will be, coming out with their own ideas, and an amalgamation of different ideas and reflections on the particular topic will make them to critically think. Vygotsky, the Russian philosopher, says, more and more socialization will lead to critical thinking. So socialization, more and more socialization through the pedagogical teaching learning method, how to do that? So that is collaborative learning, cooperative learning, debate, and all other, pedagogical interventions you have to do, and you must know how to execute it properly so that everyone is getting what they want to learn about. So that means for critical thinking, epistemic skill required, and to inculcate critical thinking, you need critical pedagogy. For critical pedagogy, Paulo Freire says problem posing method. You please go and read. You would have read it. Paulo Freire. And he said critical pedagogy. He didn't say critical pedagogy, but he said oppressed pedagogy. In the oppressed pedagogy, he said problem posing should be the method for teaching. Harvard University is following it now. But they don't want to quote Paulo Freire because Paulo Freire is a leftist. He borrowed the concept of praxis, Praxis, praxis from Karl Marx. And he followed dialectical method of learning from Hegel. And both guys are leftist. So Harvard University doesn't want to quote him, but he uses his philosophy. That is reflection. Reflection as a pedagogy. So it means reflection for to prepare the students to think about the subject and reflect. That is critical pedagogy, critical thinking means. Paulo Freire says the first thing a teacher should do is problem posing method. Problem posing method. What does it mean? You have a topic. And related to the topic, instead of just simply teaching the elements of the topic, the knowledge of the topic, then instead you pose the problem to that topic. And that problem should be a real world problem. If it is a bookish problem, no one is interested. You have a topic, poverty in economics you teach. And for that, you have to pose the problem for the poverty in relation to your subject, the unit you teach. And then ask the students to reflect. then you will see that the student will be more than the teacher. That is why Paulo Freire say, between the teacher and student, Paulo Freire, he says that teacher is not an advanced, knowledgeable person. He says, both teacher and student are learning. In learning, according to Paulo Freire, both are learning because you are exposing the topic. That is the teacher's job. And you are associated to that topic, you are posing a problem, the real world problem related to that. Stop. Facilitate thinking. And students will think and reflect. Sometimes the student reflection will be more insightful and knowledgeable than the teacher. So in this case, the teacher is not knowledgeable. The teacher is simply facilitator of the teaching, learning. So this is what there. So these are all the few things that we have to: curriculum, pedagogy, and epistemic part of the learning process. All are one and the same. I think it is 12:45. I will finish in few minutes. Am I allowed few minutes? Few. So the thing is, I have discussed about, initially the changing dimension of human production, the changing dimension of the human consumption, and changing dimensions of supply chain and logistics, and all affairs of social process. All are getting changed. People are not talking to each other within the family. People are digging on this within the house. No husband and wife are talking. They are all talking to this. And no children are interacting with parents. And there is a mess. There is no socialness. And individual human members are not born for this. Since we are social animals, and we have to ensure that we remain as social animals. Otherwise, there will be a big chaos. For that, education should prepare the future humankind. And you must know how to prepare them. And in consideration, in response to the changing dimensions of the production, human consumption, and all human endeavors, including the social evolution, for you to make it, if you rely on Madras University, you will be 100 years back. Because I think maybe 200 years back, because I don't see any progress in Madras universities, and most of the universities are same. And they are still living very long back. And they don't know the tone, the future, and the emerging tone of human evolution. So that means you must first become autonomous, and you should devise your own curriculum, and that should be dynamic, and it should be reflective of the society, the real world society. And accordingly, you have to make a suitable interventions in teaching, learning, and using pedagogical methods. There are a number of pedagogical interventions. You yourself can do that. For that, as a teacher, you should prepare yourself. If you don't understand all these things, and if you don't transform yourself as the teacher, I request our secretary and our principal to make a copy. I can send to you. And Paulo Freire said, who is a teacher? Who is not a teacher, he said. Paulo Freire said, who is not a teacher? I give you the list. And you please display everywhere. Then every teacher would understand, oh, I'm not a teacher today. So I have to be a teacher, right? And so those things are there. So with these changing dimensions, and teachers should, transform and realize the gravity of the situation we face and the significance of the teaching profession. Every teacher should transform themselves towards attaining the skills first. You should first know what is epistemic skill, how to think. Only then you can teach the students how to think, how to practice them and put them into thought process. That is one thing. Another thing is you must know how to critically view. And even in the subject matters you teach, don't hesitate. And dodge the knowledge with all real-world challenges and things in the classroom. Make the classroom so dynamic and so rigorous so that don't worry about the outside world. You dodge the constitution. You dodge the economic system. You dodge the social system in the classroom because you have the freedom. No constitution can come inside for you to compel you, to confine you within the limitations you are here now. So that means that better you equip yourself and lead yourself as a leader of the classroom, Pave the way for the students to involve in the learning process, participate in the learning process. You facilitate, don't teach. You facilitate learning, and you become a less teacher and become more facilitator of the learning. And for that, I never seen majority of the universities and colleges, the so-called professors are not fit to do this. And I hope that you have gained some knowledge and experience so far. And with this dimension, I request you to prepare yourself in this trajectory of transforming yourself so that our country will get the best quality, first of its kind teachers, and all students studying here will be benefited, and thus the society as well. I think that I have taken a long time, and more and more interactions might be needed. If your institution allows me, I will come more and more until we grow as a truly, as decided, aspired by the Paulo Freire professorship. And we become professors like that. And let us first understand the significance of the teaching job and the skills required and the magnanimity required and also the attitude required. Let us come to the classroom as a teacher, as JAWAHAR NESAN, as a teacher, not as some X caste, not as some Y caste, not as X religion, not as Y religion, not as region, Tamil Nadu guy, Telugu guy, and linguistic. All are our brothers and sisters. Our Tamil tradition is Yadu Ure, Yavaram Kelir. So there is no Telugu, no Tamil, and everybody our brothers and sisters. All our religious fraternity are our sisters and brothers. Let us shed all these identities outside. Come to the class, shedding away all the things, then you will become the best professor. Thank you very much.
Education is a social function. Nationhood is an outcome of collective consciousness. A different model of education is needed. 10 years down the lane, this system of college education may be outdated. Autonomy, need for curriculum change, changing dimensions is the need of the hour. Thank you, Professor. Most of your time was were sparkless, provoking thoughts in us, how to adapt ourselves to the changing world. Thank you very much, Professor. Now the floor is open for questions, if the Professor permits, and for discussion.
And articulate. So these are the issues that Professor has raised. Very valid. The reason is, say one thing I said, that critical thinking again. So a professor, a leading philosopher, I forgot his name, he said that the first point of critical thinking is take a sheet of paper and write, take pen and write. I think that most of you would have done it as professors. You would have written articles, research articles published in journals. I hope that many of you, when started writing book or article, the first sentence when you started writing, you would have taken hours together, maybe days together, isn't it? But once you started thinking about it, you take some time, and the left, right, both are aligned. And finally, you get some sustained, you are settled with at some point of time, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and then you start, then the flow comes. How it comes? Because if you say, see the difference, this is the best practice I'm telling you in critical thinking, is that until you ask me to talk, I will talk. And you ask me to write now, immediately, can I write? Cannot. Because language has much more role to play in the thought process. The first thing is, why I call this as a mic? Who gave this? We only gave a name called mic. And if we do not have the knowledge about language, linguistic thing is involved in the thought process, we would not know what to call it. We could have said this, that. And this, that, there are millions of objects there. Sun, this, that, everything. Can you say all this, that, this, that, this, that? No. So in that way, the language plays a role to name it. This is mic, this is fan, this is light. And because of this, we are born with that, and this knowledge has been transferred from us, from our mother, the first teacher, mother. And from that onwards, we are socializing again, outside, socializing. And talking, listening, Arinyaranna's speech, or the good orators, and many other thought-provoking writers. We read, write, and we know the art of writing it, expressing it. That language plays major role. And we are neither good in Tamil nor good in English. See, the problem is either we should, see, the language also plays major role. But again, along with the language, which conceptualize the knowledge, which name the knowledge, and the knowledge itself, we should know that is thinking. That is why I said epistemic skill. Epistemic skill is why you are perceiving an object, and Gandhi looks beautiful. And when I see Gandhiji and looks beautiful, I feel, and that means that is the knowledge I have on this portrait. And that means, okay, that is my knowledge about it. And somebody says Gandhiji looks ugly, then it is their knowledge. That I don't want to oppose it. I feel it is good, and somebody feel this portrait is ugly. And his knowledge and my knowledge. But both may differ with each other. But the thing is, the critical thinking or the real truth about the perception of the knowledge is collective consciousness. So all these things, unless we are exposed to pedagogically, tweaked learning and teaching process, we cannot attain the skills, how to gather the skill, how to acquire the skills through practice, so that we will know how to express it. So the first thing, if you want to inculcate critical thinking, through many other teaching learning methods I told you just now in my speech, the first starting point is writing. So that means when you ask him to write alone, by his own, not cut and copy from the website, the internet, you have to give them the topic that way, and that is unique, and that must testify only the students' the own reflection. And that reflection, you ask him to write. If you ask him to talk, he will talk. For hours he will talk. Hey, this is wrong, this is right, I feel this way, that way. But if you ask him to write, then the knowledge component of the object also plays in the role. And you give him 4 exercises, then you see the improvement. A real exercise. You see the improvement, he will be writing good. Because the writing involves articulation. Unless you are able to articulate, you cannot write. How will you articulate? You must be able to comprehend. Say this is portrait, and this portrait is a wooden portrait, and there is something Gandhiji is drawn, and you are going to comprehend the total thing. And the art of it, and the background of it, and the material used, you are comprehending collectively to learn about this object for you to reflect. And that comprehension is a part of articulation. So that means writing one activity makes you to comprehend, to articulate, to pull down all relevant ideas about that knowledge for him to express. It is not simply to write in good English or good Tamil, but it is to make the student to understand, to perceive, to comprehend collectively, comprehensively, and then articulate and express in language. And that is the critical thinking. There are so many ways, if you ask me, I will, but these are all missing in our education system. We don't have time. When somebody sits in Delhi in the AICTE and UGC and asks you every day, you make this function and that function, do this and that, make photographs and videos and submit, and somebody is asking you to work for NAC, every teacher, OBE, outcome-based education, and you work as a clerical person only on fulfilling the gaps and tables and a record keeper, you are not teacher. You are record keeping, you are a secretarial job, you do all the nonsense. because a NAC requires. And you are working only as a clerical person, not as a teacher. So where is time for you as a professor to sit with the students and give him this articulation, this critical thinking and all epistemic skills? So that means that this is the fundamental problem. The second aspects are said is that the second aspect is why the creamy students are getting opportunity to enter universities, but others are fading away. What is the root cause? The root cause is that fundamentally lies in the system by which we identify the students. Honestly, I'm telling you, even in the NEET report I wrote, in the NEET report I just reiterate one point. I made it very straight. The World Medical Education Federation, that is the apex body for all over the world for medical education. All countries are signatories to that. And that federation came out with a point: for one to study medical education, you have to understand that you should allow all students from all demographies to study in the medical. So they said poor, lowest social strata, students from lowest social strata, and students from rural, students from illiterate family, students even from other religions, minority religions. They mentioned that. So Sullivan report of America, and it came very recently, they said that we have to encourage more Muslim students should study medical education in America. Who says that? American government commissioned report. Why? Muslims are minorities there, and they are not getting the medical services by their own people so that they can understand their problem. And because of that, more Muslim students should enter medical education. Who says? America says, in their country. Why? Because all walks of life should enter. So that means to enter medical education in America, to enter any higher education in America, mark is not a problem. Whether you are from rural area, study medicine. And whether you are from illiterate, downtrodden family, study medicine. And here, neat, cute. What else? There are many. Next, all examinations, competitive examinations. And these examinations are preventing majority of the students from entering into the portals of universities and higher education. And we don't want anybody from rural area. My report says in the NEET report, 12% dropped after the NEET from the rural, and 10% from the have-nots lost the poor students. They lost their seats share by 10% in the medical education after NEET. And there are a lot of demographies I have proved in the report. So what all they say, education, whom you want to? All demographies. Not only the creamy part. Creamy is decided by the entrance examination and only the marks you secured in the 12th grade. But for in the medical education in United States and England, and they look at whether students have inclination to serve social service, whether they have already served social service. 18 years old students, they are expecting them to have already experienced social service as one of the criteria to admit them in the medical education. But here, you fail in 12th grade, no problem. But as long as you get NEET 17, 15%, 20% marks, that is enough to get medical education. In all private universities, you get that the average marks secured by students entering private medical colleges and universities in this country are 17%, 18%. And what is as Professor said, what is the standard? How do we choose creaminess in entering higher education? Our yardsticks, our scale is wrong. And based on the wrong scale, we said somebody is creamy, somebody is... And another term you use, slow learner, fast learner. And wherever I am NAC chairman, visiting all universities, the peer team committee chairman, that rubbish job I stopped now. But I visited all around the India, many universities and colleges, wherever I asked, you define what is slow learner and fast learner. You know what they say? Those who scored a high mark fast learner. Those who scored low mark, slow learner. Is it right, sir? No. You have to find out, say, somebody is from rural background, having the lowest, kind of exposure to even read the Gantt chart. But the students from the urban area, you ask them to read a Gantt chart appearing in the newspaper, they would read it. But the students from rural area, they don't even know the X and Y axis, the Gantt chart. That is the exposure that they don't have. But how do you put them together and say that he is a high learner and he is a low learner? Have you checked the neuron, the frequency inside, how the neurons transmit with each other the signals? It is the frequency of transmission between the neurons, the signals, the signal frequency. If the signal frequency is more, they have high IQ. If signal frequency between the neurons are less, they have low frequency. Does it mean that they are foolish people? It is biologically twinned. What can they do? If my neurons are not transmitting as fast as others, it is biology. I have nothing to do with that. My grasping capacity is less. That doesn't mean I am fool. But given an opportunity, time and exposure, I will do better than Einstein. That condition, that is the yardstick we should have to measure the brightness and intellectuality of the student. And that we don't have. I think that there is a fundamental flaw in the admissions, the standards we set in the university, in India. That is the thing, sir. Any other questions? Anybody else? Yes. After this.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
So really, we are inspired by your thought-provoking and well analysis about the present education system. So actually, you have mentioned about two concepts, that is curriculum, framework, and autonomy. Being we the 6 colleges comes under Madras University. When we were the board of study members, we were given the opportunity to frame the curriculum. But nowadays that is also blocked. TANSI has given the curriculum and that we have to follow. So I don't know whether we have to bring at least social transformation at least by getting this opportunity. The second one, autonomy. So getting autonomous is our ambition, because so that we'll get freedom to create the curriculum. Through that we can bring some social transformation. But to get that, we have to go for NAAC accreditation. Only if we get A grade, we can go for autonomy. That is also one benchmark given by the UGC. So these two I want to inform you, sir. Thank you.
It's a very good, valid point, isn't it? Yes. The two aspects, shortly I comment on it, it's also very important. The aspect is curriculum. Another one is autonomy. See, the national education policy had come out with an idea of making a national higher education qualification framework. And the national higher education qualification framework has many aspects: the structure of education, higher education, and the supposed contents and focus of higher education, and supposed outcome of higher education. This is called National Higher Education Qualification Framework. And if you read that, you will understand what the people at center want to do, we have to do. That means our curriculum intervention is very much reduced nationally by UGC. That is one thing. Even though we have universities, the autonomy, the universities are blindly following the UGC and trying to reflect UGC. That is one thing. But beyond that, the universities are now, even though they have the autonomy, they do not have to listen UGC, because UGC, by act, it did not propose national higher education curriculum. That you have to first understand. The National Higher Education Qualification Framework is not an act. It is a regulatory guideline, and universities can make their own. But universities are lazy, or they have no intent to modify and modernize and dynamically make the curriculum. That is one thing. But the curriculum, TANSI, The first state which came out with a common curriculum was Karnataka in the year 2019. They said the Karnataka government Tanshi, like at Kanchi. Here Tanshi, that is Kanchi. And that Karnataka government Higher Education Council came out with a common curriculum 2019 when I became Vice Chancellor of Science and Technology University, Mysore. And we all were invited. And wherein the Higher Education Secretary, Higher Education Minister and Deputy Chief Minister were there proposing this. I objected it. And there were a lot of, exchanges. And because of that, we delayed that common curriculum 6 months. But what happened? After 6 months, sometime I resigned and came to Tamil Nadu for NEET. And afterwards, I came to know from news that they have implemented common curriculum when in 2021 onwards. Till now, they were not able to make common curriculum, and they are squabbling and quarreling and fighting, and all of them. Now afterwards, the Congress government came and it thrown out the common curriculum. And the common curriculum, as proposed by National Education Policy, as supported by the other supporting governments, the neighboring states, the Tamil Nadu government is also following the same. They may have reason. But the Tanshi, at that time the chairman, the vice chairman of Tanshi, Professor Ramasamy, the former vice chancellor, I strongly opposed, and I told them that you cannot make a common curriculum because our university is known for certain vision. And why university is known for certain vision? Manonmaniyam Sundaranaar University is known for rural education. And Gandhigram University is meant for village development and education related to that. So every university has its own vision, and they must be allowed to have their own curriculum to spearhead towards achieving their own vision. Only then all walks of life can get quality education, because they are focused. And the common curriculum will not do. But Tamil Nadu government decided. And but I'm not seeing all professors in this country not, spelling out. I'm not asking you to agitate. At least you have to debate, articulate, and find out what is right, what is wrong. But the academic fraternity is keeping mum and quiet. And that is the problem. That is the root cause. We have to debate for a healthy things. The second part is autonomy. The autonomy for that, I think you have the data. Please don't think that whoever got A+, have achieved all the requirements to achieve NAC A++. Most of them are fabricating, madam. Most of the so-called, I'm not claiming all, because I am the witness. I'm the NAC peer team chairman. I'm visiting everywhere, and I'm finding that a lot of the data say, even the papers, very fresh. Only yesterday they would have printed. And I see that, hey, come on, yesterday only you printed. It's not old. 3 years old paper is how come it looks fresh. All fabricated. You are also fabricating maybe, because you have to, because you have no other options. I think that you can do NAC A++, surely, even with the present data you have. You will not face any problem. It is my understanding. Without looking into your data, I am telling you. So it is only a matter of putting the data together and make it in a presentable mode. You will get A++, so-called. Any other? Sir, you asked me. Yeah. Sir?
So, my name is Dr. Murugavel. How does the term obey the protocol, which is framed by unofficially by our seniors to improve our higher education system?
No, I'm not able to follow your question. Please, once again. How?
How does the term obey the protocol, which is framed by our senior unofficially to improve our higher education system?
So, in the college or outside?
No, everywhere. I face the same problem. Everywhere.
So, the question is that seniors are dominating, and if there is no freedom, then how to go ahead? No, he is not saying it is here. So, but maybe everywhere. He is asking this question in generic term that is applicable to everywhere. But this is, I agree with him partially, not fully. And it happens in many institutions because I request you to read Academy. Academy is a magazine, American magazine, purely talking about university educators, teachers, professors. And you will see that people were vomiting only blood there. And you will see a lot of suicidal cases, seniors, ditching on the juniors, and the promotions, they come interfere and they try to sabotage, and a lot of politics. This is called academic politics, The academic politics are there not only in India but everywhere, including United States. So the problem is that, sir, it depends upon the system and leadership, sir. If your leadership, top-down leadership, is democratic and it is open-minded, and if your system permits for you, all junior faculty members, to exercise freedom and explore and improve themselves, then this problem will not. So the leadership vision and the system, if these two things are changed or properly laid out, then it will be working out, sir. Thank you. I think finished. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.